15-minute interval, and then verse number 3. I would encourage some of the men who are sitting way in the back there. This whole area is open, and it's meant for the men to come up here and sit. So if you're sitting on the floor, you won't be able to see as good as you come up here. So, okay. Yeah, good. Come on, Prema Bhakti, get up here. Prema Bhakti, come on. He's shy, that's why he doesn't come. But that's, okay. Arden, was it Radha, but without the R, Arda. Okay, we got Arda. Okay, thank you. So we'll begin verse number 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so verse number 2. How many of you learned number 2? Verse number 2? Anybody? No? If one person learns it, then at least we made some effort. Nobody learned it. Okay. We encourage devotees to learn these verses. If you learn verses, then you sharpen your memory, and you also go deeper into the philosophy. Prabhupada encouraged us to chant and learn verses. Okay, so na dharma sutagana virukta kila kuru. Raja Radha Krishna Pachura Parichayam Ihatanu. Satchi Sunam Nandishvara Pati Sutave Guru Varam. Mukunda Prastave Smaraparam Ajasram Nanu Manaha. Carefully listen to this translation, because you won't hear anything similar anywhere. Indeed, do not perform any pious acts prescribed in the Vedas and supporting literature, or any sinful acts forbidden in them. So, indeed, do not perform any pious acts as prescribed in the Vedas and any of the supporting literatures, or any sinful acts forbidden in them. Staying here in Braj, please perform profuse service to Sri Radha and Krishna. O mind, unceasingly remember the son of Sachi as the son of Nanda Maharaj, and Sri Guru as the dearest servant of Lord Mukunda. Okay, so we'll go right into the verse. This verse gives you 3 doubts. So what are the 3 doubts? That at least one, who knows one of the doubts that this verse starts to immediately unveil? Yeah? No? Anyone? What is that?
Why we should perform pious activities?
Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Okay. It says don't. Okay. And what else? What's another doubt?
Why would you go somewhere else except learn Lotus feet of Radha Shyam?
Yeah. But it appears that one who gives up Dharma, okay, the second doubt concerns Radha Krishna as the only object of meditation and worship. And the third doubt concerns needing to know how to meditate on Shri Guru as the dearmost object of Mukunda. So 3 things that are posed in this verse, okay? So, in the material world, people who have some sukriti, some good qualities, they want to succeed in the material world, and therefore they perform pious activities, giving in charity, doing welfare work, opening hospitals, feeding poor, clothing the needy, and various other forms of pious activities. So Raghunath Das Goswami says, don't do it. And the obvious is there. He says, don't perform any sinful activities. So that one is understandable. Yeah, no one wants to get a bad reaction for doing something that is against Dharma, like that. But in this world, there are 2 types of people, the spiritually intelligent and the spiritually ignorant. So those who are spiritually ignorant want to gain success in life through pious activities. And what is their goal? Higher material enjoyment. And specifically, Swargaloka, heavenly planets. But what did Prabhupada say? He said, 50% of my disciples will aspire for Swargaloka. Hare Krishna. 50%. That's pretty large number. So, but it's recommended not to perform activities that are conducive to elevating one's position to a better material situation. But people who are spiritually ignorant, they do that. In fact, they focus on that. They may be, by material standards, they may be considered to be nice people, good people, generous people, concerned people, but they have a goal, and that is to elevate their material life to more enjoyment, or a situation in the next life where enjoyment is the only feature of their success. In other words, the higher planets, like that. Okay? Then you have the spiritually who are intelligent. What is the qualification of the spiritually intelligent that relates to this particular statement? Don't perform any pious activities, don't perform. So those who don't get involved with either one of them, obviously, they avoid the negative. Why do they avoid also? The rituals, the homas, all of the pujas, all of these things that go on in the Vedas for purification, for elevation.
They are fruitive activities?
Huh?
They are fruitive activities.
They're fruitive, yes, but
You don't get entangled in karma.
huh?
You don't get entangled in karma.
They don't get any karma, but that's a secondary reason. There is more of a focused reason or a more important reason why they don't do it.
Because they want to dedicate their time to focus on the eternal goal of Sri Radha and Krishna.
Because they want to fully focus on their devotional life, to devotion to Radha and Krishna. And how do they understand that in terms of pious activities? Why do they reject pious activities?
Krishna says in the Gita or the Vedas. Krishna says in the Gita that I am of the Vedas, I am to be known, and I am superior than demigods.
Yeah, that answers the question in terms of the position of worshiping, but it comes back to the point is everything that they need for success in life is found in bhakti. They don't have to look for or waste time doing any other activity. So you might say, well, how can you live? It's like you can't, you have to do certain homas or pujas and purifications, but how can you live, you might say? How is that understood for a devotee? How a devotee who has the knowledge, how do they see how to accomplish all of the benefits that come from these pious activities?
By bhakti.
Hmm?
By performing bhakti.
Yeah, but give me some more detailed understanding. Do they stop doing all these activities?
They just do work for Krishna rather than for themselves. As a Prabhupada says, there's a puppet to make them work.
They do their ordinary activities as a service to the Lord. And what does Krishna says? Yad karosi, yad asti, yad jahosi, tadasi yad, yad tapasi tukunteya, tad kurusham mararpanam. All that you do, he doesn't say some of the things you do. He says all that you do. So your occupation, your family maintenance, all of the activities that you may perform, connect it as an offering to bhakti, and not simply do it as a separate activity. And the activity may even be the same, but it is being, what we say, offered in devotion, and therefore it elevates one automatically, and one accomplishes the duties that they have to perform in the material sense at the same time. They don't stop their material duties, but they engage them in Krishna service. As Krishna says, whatever you do it as a service to me. So then you might say, well, how do you do that? Then Prabhupada says that you have to learn from the Guru. Because it may be slightly different from person to person depending on their material situation. But the point is, there's no need to do anything else but devotional service, and connect everything that we do as an offering to Krishna. Okay, and so that's pretty much the first point that he's making.
Question, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
So devotees, as we carry out activities, sometimes we see that when someone passes away, people do Shraddha ceremony, then they do various other homas and pujas. Devotees also do those things.
Yeah, because they're not engaged in devotional service. Prabhupada used to say, let the dead bury the dead. I didn't say that. Why? I mean, what do? They decorate a corpse. Oh, he never looked so good before. He's smiling. Did you see that? Oh. He's smiling because he's out of the material world, at least temporarily. So yeah, well, there's a lot of these so-called apparent, implied, not implied, but imposed responsibilities that are really not necessary. They're just imposed. Yeah. Okay.
But this is more clarification, Guru Maharaj, just on this point. In the 18th chapter,
You're too near the speaker, I think. Okay.
Krishna says that charity, austerity and penances are not to be given up because they purify even the great souls. So how do we understand those activities even?
But that's not pure devotional service. These are preliminary activities that situate one above the material impious activities. They situate one in the mode of goodness. So once you're situated in the mode of goodness, then, or at least practicing the qualities of the mode of goodness, everything you do should be engaged in devotional service. There's those who are in the lower modes, who are mostly persons who are looking for gain in their activities, fruitive activities, family prestige, all of these things. Family traditions, all of these things. They do it because of some some tradition. Sometimes you ask people why you do it, because my forefathers did it. Okay. And because you ask the forefathers and they say, yeah, my forefathers did it. And you go back to the source and then nobody knows why even got started. You know? There's a lot of these things. So what is that verse in the Bhagavatam that says, what is that? Devarshi Putatma Ninir Pritringnam Nakinkanaurayan Tridijana Rajam Sarvatmayam Saranam Mukunda Kato Mukunda Ritya cartoon. That when one comes into the material world, you got debts. You got debts to your family members. Your father and mother gave you the body. That's a debt. You have debts to the demigods who are providing, rain, sunshine, and all of these necessities that come from higher sources. You have debts to people in general who help you carry on your affairs in this material world. You have debts to the forefathers who've given you tradition, culture. You have debts to the sages who have given you scriptures. So when we come in, we're full of obligations. But then the verse ends, but if you engage in devotional service, all the debts are automatically taken care of. There's no more debt. Why? Because Mukunda, or Krishna, is the root cause of everything. Therefore, if you pour water on the root, all of these other responsibilities that come as an expression of the material activity are nourished by worshipping the Supreme Lord, Mukunda. So no need to all these other things. But, most of people, they can't get away from it. They're so traditionally locked into that they'll do it anyway, even if it has no meaning. It's just a waste of time. Here it says there are two kinds of practitioners. There are the siddhas and the sadhakas. And one worships Guru and Krishna, Guru, Gauranga, and Krishna. Siddha means to renounce material activities and reside in Vrindavan or Mayapur, or at least mentally, like that. And others, they want to practice devotional service, but they're still attached to all of these other activities. So Raghunath Das Goswami is taking us to the perfectional stage. He's bypassing all of these other considerations of elevation and going right to the principle that one should focus on, Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, like that. Okay, any questions? We can open it up for discussion. Practicing Krishna consciousness is not a luxury. Hare Krishna. You have to engage all of your resources in the service of the Lord. If something is not engaged in the service of the Lord, it will require some responsibility within the context of the modes of material nature, and your devotional service will be mixed, not pure. Okay. The most important thing is the time factor. How much, by focusing completely on devotional service, you don't waste time. And you get the benefit of all of these other activities automatically. It's not like, oh, I won't get these benefits. You may not get praise from the family members or people in general, but that is really not necessary anyway. I mean, for some of us, maybe it is. Okay. So we work all our life, but what does Prabhupada say in terms of when should we cut off all of these responsibilities in the material world? at one point in life.
Vanaprastha.
Yeah, but give me a number.
50.
50. When we reach 50 years old, or when all of the children are grown up and they also have their life, and there's no more need to maintain all of the activities of the family, then the next stage is Vanaprastha. Or moving closer to Krishna by detaching oneself from unnecessary activities. And they become unnecessary, and gradually moving towards that, yeah. Okay. Everyone's silent because they don't agree with me. Or maybe it's the other silence, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, it's just the way it is. So, and then focus. Okay, so we're worshipping the Sringadev, we're worshipping Ram. But he says, let us, in the verse, he says, please perform profuse service to Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Stay here in Braj. So, what does he mean by saying stay here in Braj? So there's two ways. You can actually go to Vrindavan and take up devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual teachers and absorb yourself. Or, living in the way you are now, connect your mind to the worship of Radha and Krishna as the feature of all of your activities. So in other words, live there mentally, even if you can't live physically. Yeah. So you might say, well, how do I focus? For instance, in Bengal, they have a particular saying. Any Bengalis here? No Bengalis, okay. Hate koro kaje.
Mukhe bolo hari.
Mukhe bolo hari. Hate koro kaje means work with your hands. But don't just work with your hands, chant Hare Krishna. In other words, do whatever you're doing, but always remember the Lord in all of the activities you may perform in this material world. Connect yourself always to the spiritual element. Because any time the mind is not connected, it's under the influence of one of the three modes of material nature. And that leads us away from the goal. Therefore, learn how to direct that mind constantly towards worship of the divine couple in Vrindavan. How do we worship the divine couple in Vrindavan? Is there a particular method that is recommended? Or is it something you devise yourself? Shravanam, Kirtanam? Yeah. Hearing and their pastimes. Their pastimes are just full of diversity, so it's not relegated to a particular type of pastime. There are so many pastimes of the Lord and His devotees in Vrindavan, particularly. In fact, we can't even exhaust the varieties that are available. Choose those pastimes that attract your mind the most and go deeper into it, learn to it, and get into the mood of Radha Krishna worship. Keep deities at home. Of course, it's recommended we keep Gaurnitai. But come to the temple and worship Radha and Krishna in the temple. So keep your mind focused on the divine couple. So Raghunath Das Goswami is asking us to put our mind in like 11 or 12 different places at the same time. But what is the connecting force that he is focusing on? It's all about Vrindavan. Enter into Vrindavan in the varieties that he's given us, as he mentions in the first verse. And then keep that consciousness there, like that. And he says, of course, give up forbidden activities, staying here in Raj. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami, who is he? We mentioned he's Rati Manjari. He has an intimate service to Radharani. If you read Shivaram Maharaj's books on Vilapa Kusumanjali, he gives detailed explanations of what the service he does. He chooses her nose rings, her earrings, the type of makeup that she... He not only chooses, but he chooses it and asks her if this is what she wants. And then she asks him, well, why should I choose that one? Well, Krishna likes that one. And then he convinces her that Krishna likes that one. And then she'll say, well, he may like another one. So she's not so easy to please. So then she'll mention the other one. He'll say, yeah, but that doesn't apply to you meeting him today. That's for another day. So they go back and forth. He's trying to defeat her, and she's trying to defeat him, but it's all about love. How to offer the best, and she's always saying how to accept the best. And the whole thing is, what will please Krishna? Or what will attract Krishna? That's the focus. So that's his mood. That's his mood. And he's quite expert at it. And he does other things, choosing her dress and so many things. Her, what is it called? Her nose rings, everything. She has all of her servants do everything for her. And she accepts it or doesn't accept it based on whether she feels it'll please Krishna or not. Yes.
So, Guru Maharaj, supposing we are, as I said before also, maybe we are very attracted to worship of Lord Ram, and our goal is Ayodhya Dham in the spiritual world, or we're very attracted to Lord Chaitanya, and our goal is Navadvip Dham in the spiritual world. So then what happens if we are having those kind of aspirations?
Well, the scriptures don't say, deter yourself from that. But Lord Chaitanya is, as it says here, he says, unceasingly remember Sachi as the son of Nanda Maharaj. Son of Sachi is Lord Chaitanya. But who is he? He's Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. He's nobody else but Krishna. But his mood is her mood. So the mood is different. It's his internal ecstatic mood for loving himself by loving himself through his internal energy, Radharani. But he is who he is. He's still Krishna. And when he was here, he also accepted services from his devotees who wanted to serve him in different moods. So he is what is called, he is personification of all the rasas. But he emphasizes Madhurya Ras because that's his mood. Because he's God, he accepts all of the rasas in terms of worship. And that's Lord Chaitanya, yeah. It says here, unceasingly remember the son of Sachi. So he's always telling his mind, get fixed on this continuously, get fixed on this continuously, get fixed on this. So the mind can't stay in one place. Well, we know. It's always moving. So when it moves from one of these suggested objects of concentration to the other. And then you're still in Vrindavan. You're still in that mood. So practice that. You might think, oh, that's really advanced. Well, advancement means success, and success is what we're after. Isn't it? Yeah. We don't want to take anything less. Well, I had the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, but because I thought, all right, I'll gain some success on the spiritual ladder, but I'll just, it's too hard. My material situation is too overwhelming. Maybe next life. Well, so when you say that, what are you opening up yourself to? Does that sound like a good proposition? So what is the danger in that one?
You can fall down actually.
You can fall down in your next life. As you can fall down in the present life. There's no guarantee. And as Prabhupada says, whatever stopped you from making it in this life, you'll have to face it in your next life. It'll be there right in front of you. And if you fail again, then the next life is like that. And every time you somehow or other absorb yourself and overcome these attractions, and none of these attractions have different levels of relinquishing. There's one point where you're no longer attracted, at least on the physical level, but the subtle level still has some attraction. That's called complete, but not absolute. Absolute means it's not going to come back. You've actually conquered over that anartha or that desire, and it's finished. But complete means it's gone. It appears to be gone, but still, the tendency that it could come back under circumstances, like everybody has their weakness. And Maya can put you in a situation where she'll put you in a situation where she knows where you're weak. And by doing that, then you're more susceptible to acquiesce to that situation. Just like if you're away from the opposite sex, you're not so much attracted to it. But when you're intimately connected to it, the attraction starts to increase. So when we're in a particular situation, that somehow or other causes us to become inclined to that. Like, some sannyasis. I won't mention their name. Yeah, I'm finished with girls. But then, there's that one. Wow. I didn't know she was on the planet. She must have came from Svargaloka. What's her name? Menaka. Oh, yeah. What happened to Vishwamitra Muni? Yeah. All his austerities went to hell. So Maya, she will test you to the ultimate principle, just to give you complete purification. As you overcome one level, but each time you overcome, or somehow or other stay fixed in devotional service, despite the attraction, you gain spiritual strength. You gain spiritual strength. That's why great souls, they like difficult situations, because it makes them spiritually stronger. They look for that. They don't try to bring it about, but when it comes, they welcome it. Here's an opportunity to make more advancement. And then you have the other devotee, don't give me a hard time. I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I eat prasadam, and that's all. Hare Krishna. But you're never going to get much from that. Unless you have reached the stage of pure chanting, that's different. But to reach the stage of pure chanting, you have to be tested. There's no question. If you want to graduate school, you have to know the lessons, study, and be ready for the test and pass them. This is the school of bhakti. So, if we don't want tests, then we surrender to Maya. And Maya says, okay, you're back. I got some service for you. fact, I have a lot. In fact, you have enough for many lifetimes. So yeah, we don't want. So those situations which cause us to, again, become influenced, that's why it says, keep your consciousness on Vrindavan in one of the moods that, and especially, now in order to understand Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, or at least worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, the scriptures say we have to go through Lord Chaitanya. There are people who are Vaishnavas who either don't know about Lord Chaitanya or don't think his worship is important and want to go directly to the mood of Vrindavan. But usually in Kali Yuga they won't be successful, because Kali Yuga is Kali Yuga Pavana Kali Boya Nasana Sri Sachinandana Namre. That in this age he is making the path to Vrindavan available. He opens it up by his mercy and mostly through the Sankirtan movement, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Sankirtan, especially Kirtan. If you can stay in Kirtan your whole life, at one point you'll die in Kirtan, and when you wake up you'll be in the Kirtan in the spiritual world. Really. It's not just some statement. Yeah. Sometimes devotees think, boy, here's a good time to die. And it is. But if you try to die, that's not fair. Because Krishna knows, he's trying to get a cheap ticket to the... So, but if it happens, and it's considered to be... And there are people who die from overdose of too much emotion. Transcendental emotion. You can die from that. Separation can cause death. And too much happiness can just blow your mind. I saw this one video. It was Ram Leela. One person, I was watching the video. This was a live production. And one person was playing Hanuman. And he was singing, it was all in Hindi. And he was singing the glories of Ram. And he was acting in a mood of very great devotion. And as it was going on, he started to lose consciousness. And then at one point he just fell. He was gone. Right in the middle of, this was a drama. Yeah, I can show it to you. It's on my video. He did so much love and separation from Ram. He absorbed himself so much in that mood that although he was an actor, he actually attained perfection. And then he went back to Ram, obviously. Thinking of Ram in the last moment, yeah. Yeah, so that was quite beautiful. Okay, and then keeping your consciousness. Therefore, before we chant, we always say, Jai Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi, Gaura Bhakta. We should chant that mantra in the same way we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. That means with complete attachment and attraction. Not just, okay, Jai Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, okay, now I can start. No. Chant that mantra, the Panchatattva mantra, as if it was the Maha Mantra. It is the Maha Mantra, but it's just expressed in an individual way. So yeah, it's so important. Because as soon as you do that, Lord Chaitanya opens up the door to your chanting. The mercy flows. And if you chant it like 2 or 3 times, devotees, when we first joined, we were told, you have to chant it before each round. And we did that. And then someone came up and said, actually it's not like that. You can chant it once and then Don't break your chanting all the way. So both are accepted, whatever you feel is most doable for you, like that. So yeah, Lord Chaitanya is very kind. Because he's given Krishna. Okay, and then the last principle in this one is Guru as the dearest servant of Lord Mukunda. So what is that worship? Yeah, one should see the Guru in that way. Why? Because he's giving Krishna. And therefore he's giving the greatest of all gifts, Krishna. Without the mercy of Guru, there is no mercy. And if we try to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya without getting the mercy of the Guru, then that mercy won't come, at least not in full force. Okay, so these are some, let's see, maybe we can go deeper into this. Yeah, the term Mukunda Presta means someone who is very dear to Mukunda. The Lord who gives mukti, freedom from the material world, that's named from Mukunda. The worshipper should think, Sri Krishna, who is like an ocean of mercy, has sent his intimate associate in order to take me home back to Godhead. So one should think like that. Somehow or other I met the association of my spiritual master, who is now able to take me back to God. It is most appropriate to respect and regard Guru as an intimate friend of Srimati Radharani. So that's Bhakti Vinod Thakur. That he's intimately connected to either Nityananda or Radharani. But here, because the mood is Madhurya Ras here, he's mentioning Srimati Radharani. Okay? So, not like, Guru, this is my plan, and I know you'll approve it. That's why I'm asking you. I wouldn't ask you if you wouldn't approve it. Hare Krishna. So, that doesn't work. So then when people come, we usually say, do you want instruction, advice, or opinion? Most of the time they want opinion. You made a good choice. Or advice on how to carry out what you want to carry out. How to do it better. Hare Krishna. Or, what's the other one? Instruction. Yeah, you can take my requests as your instructions to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the Guru Supermarket. There's a variety of things you can buy. So this goes on as Kali Yuga. And if I know he's not going to approve it, and I don't want to bother him because he's so busy, so I'll just do it anyway because I don't want to bother him. Hare Krishna, that's the worst one. It's okay because, he's busy. And therefore, I don't want to cause my spiritual master to waste his time. I'll just go ahead and do it. And I know he'll be happy that I didn't bother him. Hare Krishna. Okay, so these are the things that we shouldn't do. Because, and a lot of times, it's okay to present what you would like to do, or even how you would like to carry out the instructions that is given. That's all right, but that should be something that's done in the mood of ready to accept whatever is, if it's adjusted or rejected, we should also be able to accept that. So what's the use of having guru if you don't follow? It's just like, so follow, and there's always considerations on how to follow and how best to follow. And therefore, Rupa Goswami mentions that one should inquire regularly from the spiritual master on what service they're doing and how they can improve, or if there's any additional service. In other words, how can I make further advancement from where I am? Like that. That's a nice mood. But we're attached, and we're afraid our attachments are going to be pulled out. Like it says that the spiritual master is required to test the disciple. That's his service. He has to give the disciple a test. So I was with one lady, she was from London, and she was unmarried, and she wanted to become a disciple. She was qualified in all spiritual respects, but her spiritual master told her, her aspiring spiritual master, you live in the ashram for 1 year. And she did it. And she did it, but she wasn't so happy about the idea, but because it came as an instruction, she did it. And then she told me it was the best year she ever spent. Because when you follow the instructions, everything comes out nice. Because you get the mercy. And when you reluctantly follow, just like if you do something with the consciousness of what it actually brings, you get more benefit than if you do something that you don't know what the result will be or why you're doing it, but you do it anyway. So when you know the result or the goal, it has a greater effect on your spiritual credits. In other words, you make more advancement. So blindly, that's why, what does it say in the Bhagavad Gita? Blind following and absurd inquiries are rejected. You might think blind following means I'm surrendered. No. That means you don't know, really, but you just do it anyway. I mean, that's okay, but you won't really get the full benefit because you don't know why you're doing it. And you may later on also decide not to do it because you accepted it without understanding. So it's good to know why you're doing what you're doing and what is the results of why you're doing it. That's part of disciples' portfolio. That'll make sense? Okay. Any questions? Yes. Let's see who else has a question. We have a question over there, Rishab.
It was mentioned a few times that we should exclusively worship, take shelter of Sri Radha and Krishna. But then when we are in danger, we are recommended to take shelter of Narasimha. So, is there any comment on that?
You can take shelter of Nrsingadev because that's his service. But if you're taking shelter of Radha and Krishna, they're the source of Nrsingadev. I'll give you an example. I don't know if this is a prototype, but it's an example. One lady, this was when I was in Chicago, she said, Maharaj, this demon is haunting me all the time. He comes into my dreams and he's just harassing me. I can't sleep. I'm horrified. And I said, all right, chant the Sringadev's mantra. So she came back to me. He's still there. So I said, all right, now call out to Krishna. So she tried that for a while. No change. So I said, all right, there's only one thing left. Pray to Prabhupada. And as soon as she did that, everything was gone. And Prabhupada carries the full mercy of all of the Supreme Lord. And he's more merciful than the Lord. And as Prabhupada said, if you have any obstacle, come to me, one kick, and it's gone. So, the Prabhupada is still there for all of us. We have our spiritual master, but Prabhupada is everyone's spiritual master. Doesn't mean because we haven't received direct initiation, we are all Prabhupada Nugas. We follow Srila Prabhupada's teachings, and everyone who follows his teachings, everyone who represents him also follows his teachings. Everything comes back to Prabhupada. So if you become Prabhupada addicted, then your intoxication will never wear off. Yeah, that's the key. So we can chant the Sringadev's mantras, because it says, but Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he worships the Sringadev. This is mentioned here and also in this particular treatise. Why does he worship the Sringadev? So Sringadev will remove all the obstacles so he can have a smooth path to Vrindavan. So that's pretty much why we also take shelter in the Sringadev, because he can remove obstacles, which opens up the path to Vrindavan. Sringadev does three things, generally. He protects one from material dangers. He destroys material illusions. In other words, we get illusion by the material energy, and we think that this will bring us some success, happiness, but actually it's just Maya's attracting force. And the last one comes in the form of the prayer by Prahlad Maharaj. He prays that to remove those desires that are keeping me attached to the process of, keeping away from the process of bhakti. So he prays to remove fruit of desires. And the Sringadev is the best friend of the devotee, but the object of love is Radha and Krishna. We can also love the Sringadev, but the mood is different. And that mood is taught and enhanced and encouraged and spoken about by Lord Chaitanya. So we're really, what Raghunath Das Goswami says is that we're all followers of Lord Chaitanya, who is Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. That's the mood. And his mood is Bhagavatam, Harinam, Sankirtan. These are the two things he emphasizes. Reading, hearing Bhagavatam, and learning Bhagavatam, applying the knowledge of Bhagavatam, and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah. So you made it easy. Golokara Premadana Harinam Sankirtana Ratin Jan Milokini Upai. So it comes right back to that. Everything centers around the chanting of Hare Krishna. Your ability to understand scripture is enhanced by your knowledge that you receive from Bhagavatam. Your ability to associate and serve and work with devotees is also developed and enhanced through the chanting of Hare Krishna. Everything centers around the holy name. That's why. Evechya Sarimaya Nasi Badalagi Harinama Mahamantra Allow to be Magi. Yeah. You're looking for medicine for the disease. What's the disease? Bhavaro. What is Bhavaro? Material life. The material, that's a disease. Because it's foreign to the soul and it just causes the soul to unnecessarily struggle. So what is that medicine? And the medicine is the holy name. It works. But medicine, just like when you receive a doctor's medicine, he may say, you have to take this medicine for 2 weeks before you can actually get cured. So it may not, you're taking the medicine on the first couple of days, but the disease is still there. So take the medicine, but also continue to take the medicine and learn how to take the dosage of the medicine. Just like sometimes people want to take all of the medicine at one time. Well, I got 2 weeks worth of medicine, I'll just take it all today and then I'll have to wait for 2 weeks to get cured. Will that work? So take it according to the prescription given. So that means chant every day. But if you try to, I'm going to chant like 64 rounds every day, you'll get restless. And when you start getting to your later rounds, only those who are really fixed in devotional service and focus on the home, can they do that? But that's very rare. It's recommended we do take a prescribed number, but make that prescribed number the best quality. Chant with quality, with attention, with devotion. Then gradually the disease will diminish and the awakening of the happiness of chanting will continue. So we have to be careful making big vows. Sometimes devotees like to do that. Some are qualified to do it, others just imitate and are not qualified to do it. Because it's mentioned, you can get restless. You're chanting, you're up to your 40th round, but your mind is thinking of so many other things. And you can't wait to get to 64. You only got 24 to go, and you're looking at the clock. Hare Krishna. So do what is doable. You might also emphasize a little extra, but these big vows, we call it charging the gates of heaven. I'm going to get there right away. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. As Sachinanda Maharaj would always say, the door to Vaikuntha has a handle only on the inside. You can't open it from the outside. You have to, qualify yourself, and then you're let in. So that means you have to execute the process as given by the spiritual master. You might say, well, Prabhupada told us to chant 64 rounds at the beginning. He did. He said chant 64 rounds. And the devotee said, well, Srila Prabhupada, we have a lot of other services, we don't have time. And they went back and forth. Prabhupada said, all right, 32. And they gave the same reason. And then he said 16 and no less. So some people say, well, he really wanted us to chant 64, that's what I'm going to do. Hare Krishna. All right. If you can somehow or other still do all of the services that you require and chant 64 rounds and chant nicely, not just, as Prabhupada would say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare. I was one devotee used to chant Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Now what is that? Well, I'm just combining all the mantras into one. That way I can add 10 every time. So what goes on in ISKCON, it's amazing. Take the pure process and add a little bit of liquor to it. But Buddha Bhavana will take you deeper into this topic. Yeah, so it's not like that. Do what you can do nicely, and do it nicely. Like that. Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Yeah. We have Vrindavanath. Do we have a microphone? Yeah. How much time do we have left?
Maybe last
We're
question.
out of time, but we started late, so.
That'll throw the whole schedule off.
It's
We're-
11:30.
Huh?
It's 11:30.
We have to 11:45, right?
No, 11:30 to 11:45 is break.
Oh, so we're at break time right now. So we're out of time.
Last question, maybe.
Last question.
Maybe I can ask question in the next session.
Yeah, if you want to hold, you can until next time. Okay. Mukunda also has a question.
I'll wait till the next.
You wait. Okay, we want to keep the schedule because it is quite precise and it makes things easier if we do that. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll go into verse 3 in 15 minutes. So, thank you. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai.